Just welcome to Real Talk. I'm having Dr. Harini Amarasuriya today. Just waiting until she joins the video. Doctor, can you please accept the request? Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Doctor. How are you?
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Well, I can hear you. Hope I'm doing this right.
Yeah, that's fine. You're perfectly fine. Yeah.
Okay.
You've been very busy last few days. I saw you have been here in Goa yesterday, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was.
Yes. Yeah.
There were like quite a lot of crowd these days for NPP. Congratulations, anyways, before starting the
Thank
show.
you. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
So my first question for you, Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, why did you enter politics? Are you satisfied with your work right now?
Why did I enter politics? I had no intention of entering politics formally at any point. I had been working with the NPP for some time on their as a member of their policy groups. I was working specifically on the education policy as well as the gender policy. And then in the 2020 elections, when we were discussing, and I've been part of the NPP, but when we were discussing the national list and I was asked whether they can put my name, I agreed, not with any intention of ending up in Parliament, but simply because we needed 24 names to put into the national list. And then, yes, this is what happened. So not something I planned to do. So it's not like a decision I had made to enter electoral politics, right? Or to enter Parliament or anything. That was never part of my life plan. Am I enjoying it? Yes and yes, to the extent that for me it's like I get to meet so many new people. I'm an anthropologist by training, so talking and meeting people and going about and visiting places is what an anthropologist does as well. So it's like I am seeing this through the eyes of an anthropologist as much as a politician, I guess. I feel I don't really enjoy the current parliament, I have to say, because I don't feel as if I can contribute much anything meaningful the way the parliament is currently functioning. But being in parliament gives me a platform to talk about and campaign on the issues that I care about. So that
Absolutely.
is good. That part of it I enjoy. I don't really enjoy the stuff I have to do in Parliament at the moment.
Yeah. I would like to say, like, one of the few speeches that I really look forward to when it comes to Parliament is one of yours, because most of the time in Parliament, these people talk rubbish. So if we want a meaningful conversation, they're like one of the few that I listen to anyways. So thank you for that. Yeah. So tell us about NPP's vision and your vision forward.
Yeah, so, okay, I have to also warn you, there's like rain and thunder in my location. So if you hear loud noises, that's
Be
the
careful
thunder. Yeah. NPP was formed about two and a half years ago. No, this is 22. We started in 2018. We formed as a group of people and organizations who shared a similar political ideology, in that we broadly belong to the sort of left-wing progressive political space. Some of us came as individuals, some of us were part of different organizations. So some represented trade unions, right? So it's a very diverse mix. All of us had worked at some point or the other with JVP also, and we were looking for ways in which we could broaden that alliance and sort of form a progressive left-wing front, right? Without necessarily uh, being members of the JVP, right? We had things in common with the JVP. We work very closely with the JVP. The JVP is part of the NPP, right? But we are all not members of the JVP, right? So we
So it's
wanted
like
to.
your ideologies matches, and you guys are left-wing progressive party, but not JVP.
Yeah, I mean, the JVP is one of the political parties in our group, right? So there are some who are part of the JVP, some of us who are not. I am not a member of the JVP, but the JVP is part of the NPP, right? So we formed a collective platform, basically, right? And our vision is for a more equal, more democratic society, right? Which is based on social, where the principles on which we come together is on social justice. We all want a more just society, a more equal society, right? And one which is free of the corruption and elitism that we think is one of the sort of basic features or some of the basic features of the current political culture which we want to change, right? So that's what we are really about.
Okay. Coming back to what happened yesterday in the parliament when President Ranil
Sorry.
Wickremesinghe, coming back to what happened in parliament yesterday, where President Ranil
Yeah.
Wickremesinghe was talking about how 51% of population is women, but only 5% is inside the parliament. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a fair thing. I mean, even I wanted to ask why it's happening, and do you think any kind of change will happen in the coming parliament? You believe more women participation inside parliament will happen than 5% or 12 MPs out of 225?
Uh, okay, so first, why aren't there more women in parliament? Because if you look across the board, there is a problem with women's participation, political participation, right? Especially within parties when it comes to nominations or when it comes to actually standing for election, the participation of women is low, right? There might be women activists in political parties. There are women's wings in almost all political parties. But when it comes to electoral politics, women are seen to be not winnable, right? Not winnable candidates, right? So for those reasons, you don't see women being nominated, right? Nominated to contest. So for those reasons,
But we had a prime minister and a president from women this
yeah,
time.
we did. But if you look at them, they all came from political families. I mean, that I think cuts across gender. I mean, if you look at the men in parliament, most of them also come from politically connected families. So if you belong to a
Nepotism.
politically connected family, doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, you get a chance, right? But for men and women who are not from political parties, it's much harder. And it's twice as hard if you're a woman who's not from any of those political parties, right? Any political family. So that's the reason. So this political culture, which Ranil Wickremesinghe is very much a part of, is what left what created this
Made, yeah.
situation where it's hard for women to be in those kinds of spaces.
So, do you think anything will happen if there is an election next year? Most probably we'll have a parliament election next year or year after. So,
Yeah, well, it's up to the citizens of this country, right, whether they want to vote for more women to be in parliament. But I think that it's also up to political parties to make sure that they put in more women in their lists, that they nominate more women, right? To be honest, I don't expect a significant change. I think there will be an improvement. I know as a party we are trying very hard to bring more women into our movement, to make sure that we support women who want to have that political career, right? And we want to encourage more women to contest, and we want to facilitate that. So yes, we certainly want to see that change, and we want to bring in more women. And if people vote for the women that we put up, then yes, certainly there'll be a change in the next parliament.
okay. So my next question is about this controversial topic that's going around: why women should wear sari to schools or to work, right? So, I mean, do you think we should restrict anyone from wearing anything respectful to a workplace? I mean, why mandatorily saying wear this? Isn't it a human right violation?
Well, for me, this is a real distraction. Okay, I mean it is reflective of something. The discussion and the way the discussion is happening is reflective of how much we need to change in terms of our attitudes towards women, right? So that's an issue that we need to address. But if you look at the education sector and the problems that teachers are facing in the education sector, I would say that what they wear is the least of the problems, right? There are much bigger issues that we need to focus on. But the discussion around this has provoked a discussion that is revealing very problematic attitudes towards women, right? So primarily my position my position is that no one has the right to decide for another person what that person should or should not wear, right? And this idea that if you allow women to choose what they can wear, that they are going to dress inappropriately, is I think, absolutely problematic and completely wrong idea, right? I think we all know, the majority of us know how to dress appropriately in a given situation, right? And you can't also assess a person's respectability based on what they wear, right? I mean, there's more to it than attire, right? And the idea that sari is what confers respectability on a woman is also deeply worrying, right? I mean, that's again a very problematic idea or attitude, right?
It seems like this problem started as a very genuine one, but now it's moving towards a very propaganda sort of thing with what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's getting to some other crazy level. And I think, in some ways, as wonderful as social media is, social media also tends to be very divisive when it comes to these kinds of issues. And it tends to push people to take very extreme positions, right? And then you start the conversations, or the dialogue happens based on those very extreme positions. Right now we are responding the people who are supporting the right of women teachers to wear whatever they like have to also take on the likes of those who are saying women who choose to dress differently are loose women, right? Which are like ridiculous. I mean, that shouldn't be the argument, right? So it's social media can also make it very make these discussions very I mean, take them in directions that are completely crazy, right? And then you're like, creating a sensate. You're sort of saying things for the sake of saying things. It's not a helpful. It's not a helpful discussion. It's not a useful discussion.
Yeah. Anyways, so hopefully it will end in a good manner so that everyone can respect each other. That's all what we are fighting for, anyways, and human rights should prevail. Anyways, moving to the next topic, I would like to talk about child marriages that's been happening in our country. At 15 years of age, 15-year kids, 2% of 15-year kids getting married in Sri Lanka, 12% of 18 years of kids getting married in Sri Lanka. Shouldn't there be more strict rules to be brought in to prevent this happening? Because child marriage is something that we should be keep talking, because 18-year-old or 15-year-old is a kid that we are talking about, and they are going to get married to someone, and they will be like, we can go on and talk about martial rape and blah blah blah. So shouldn't there be strict rules regarding child marriage as well?
Okay, so first of all, 18, you are allowed to get married at 18 years of age in our country, right? 18 years is when you're considered an adult, and legally speaking, you are allowed to marry when you're 18, right? I am a little skeptical about that data in this sense that because child marriage is illegal in this country except under Muslim law where it is allowed, most marriage registrars will not allow marriages to take place. What is happening is that there are children under the age of 18 years, or at least where one of the partners is under 18 years, entering into a relationship and living together, right? And then the family and the community considers that a marriage. It's not a legal marriage, right? It's not a legal marriage. So then there are all kinds of problems with that, because and then what happens is when the under 18 person turns 18, they're quickly married off. Okay, so they live together they live together till the person is 18, and then as soon as they turn 18, the family pushes them into this marriage, right?
Just signing the paper.
It's just to sign the paper. Until then, they live together or whatever it is. So the term we need to use the terms carefully, because child marriage is not permissible under law except under Muslim marriage, under the Muslim Marriage and Divorce Act, right? Where there is no age limit.
16, I guess, if I'm right. I'm not sure.
No. With parental consent, there is, I think, parental consent is the only condition there. Okay?
I'm not sure about it.
So, yeah. So, and we need to also look at the causes, right? Very often what happens is that someone under 18 may be in a romantic relationship, and then what happens is that family and those around them immediately make that into a like a huge issue. And these could be like teenage romances, start off as teenage romances. Some girl is seen with a boy, right? And then it becomes a huge drama, and then there's parental pressure to break off to do something, that they run away. It's very complicated. Each story is very different, right? So I think what we have to essentially address on the issue of child marriage is the issue of, like, there needs to be more awareness and education also about these things among children, so that they know, in the sense that they don't feel pressured into doing things that are not in their best interests, right? Very often they are making these decisions and choices through pressure, not because it is something that they themselves have freely chosen to do, right? And generally speaking, sort of marriage, child marriage is not health, has health consequences, right? And also puts a huge burden on the girl, on the woman in the marriage, which has consequences for her later life, right? Which is why we discourage it, right? Because anyone under 18 is still considered a child, should be doing other things, not be responsible for a family or running a household or raising children, right? So those are the problems associated with it. But so the law has to be implemented properly, and the conditions that pressurize underage children into marriage have to be dealt with.
Hopefully, we'll be able to give proper education, I think, especially on sex education and also human rights, and how they can come out of these kind of pressurized situations, so that we can avoid these kind of situations in future. My next question, Dr. Harini, is Sri Lankan period poverty is around 50% according to report, I guess. And in 2018, there were like 102% of taxes on sanitary napkins. And now I think it has currently reduced to 47%, if I'm right, the taxes. But still, it's like pretty much expensive for someone like in a lower middle class or middle class to afford. Do you think taxes should be completely exempted for sanitary napkins, or do you think what kind of changes do you think with regard to period poverty should be taken?
Yeah, so period poverty in Nuzly is bigger than just the cost of a sanitary napkin, right? There's also things like access to water, access to proper sanitation, the sort of health issues related to periods and being able to access proper health care for all of those things. So it's a bigger problem, and the cost of sanitary napkins is one of the issues that we have to deal with. Certainly, I think the tax on sanitary napkins is ludicrous and needs to be reduced, because it's not a luxury item, right? It should be freely available, and it should be accessible and cheaply available, right? So there's no doubt about that. But that in and of itself is not the only problem with period poverty. Period poverty is also, sorry, I keep wincing because like there's lots of lightning and thunder around me. Period poverty, if we want to really tackle period poverty, we also have to look at water and sanitation issues that many women are facing. That, I mean, especially in school systems, right, where we don't have proper toilets for women, we don't have access to water, we don't have places to dispose of sanitary napkins. All of those issues are also things that we need to address, right? So it's a much bigger problem than simply the tax on sanitary napkins, which is, I think, one of the easiest things to solve. We just need to remove the tax. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Coming back to NPP's role in Parliament, does your party believe both local government councils that elections that supposed to held next year and parliament elections, you guys can win. How confident this time NPP is? Because we have seen over the years people row to NPP rallies, right? Like even we are seeing this time more, right, more people roaring into it. But when it comes to vote, there are like, you know, very little number of votes people are getting. So this time around, how much NPP is confident of winning the elections and why it's different from any other time before?
Okay, so first of all, we think elections need to happen on time. So the local government elections must be held. Local government elections are due, or the
March
local
20th, right?
government, yeah, well, in the sense that they have to be, the new councils must be in place by the 20th of March, right? In which case, then the elections have to be before, so elections must be held. Because if we don't have the local government elections also, we don't have provincial councils right now, and that's a huge problem in terms of democracy and representation, right? We also think a parliamentary election is called for because of the current crisis, right? We don't think there's been that's a demand that is growing among people, right? They've rejected this government in many ways, and if there's political instability as a result of the lack of trust that people have in the current government and the lack of confidence in the current government, and with a government that lacks people's trust and confidence, it's very difficult to bring in the kinds of transformations that are necessary to bring in the policies or to implement the policies that are necessary to fix this current problem, right? To deal with the crisis that we are facing, economic as well as the political crisis. So a government that is trusted by the people, a government that has the confidence of the people is an essential precondition to dealing with the crisis. So for that reason, we need an election, because we don't think that this current government has either the trust or the confidence of the citizens of this country.
So my question was,
Sorry, your second question about like our confidence. Yeah, sorry. Well, we are confident this time because why we are confident is that people are not just coming for entertainment to our rallies and our meetings this time round, right? We are not measuring our confidence is not just on the basis of the numbers of people attending our rallies. We've been working really hard over the last 2 years in trying to build up our support or build up the structure of NPP at the village level. We have set up NPP Kotasa Sabha in every Grama Niladari division. We are in the process of doing that. We are in the process of establishing NPP councils in every polling division, right? We've been working really hard at the ground level to mobilize people around the kinds of transformation and changes that NPP wants to bring into this country, right? To initiate in this country. And we are really encouraged by the response we are getting, right? We are really encouraged by the way in which people are participating in that process, not just coming for the gatherings, but how they canvass for NPP, how they are participating in the work that NPP is doing, right? So even in our Gaul rally yesterday, many of the people you saw were people who we've been working with for the past 2 years, right? Building up those networks and sort of bringing in, setting those party structures and really mobilizing, right? So that's why we are confident, because that people are changing, have
I'm
changed.
sorry.
And
I'm sorry, power went off for me.
oh,
It's
okay. So what does that mean?
I said it's power cut, unfortunately.
Okay, so we can continue or not?
Yeah, we can
No, we
continue.
continue. We continue. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, well, that might happen anytime here also. So essentially, we are confident because we feel that we represent the change that people want for this country. They want a different set of leaders, and we think we can offer them that. They want a corruption-free, non-corrupt. They want non-corrupt leaders, and I think we can offer them that, right? And they want systematic policies and ideas that will turn the country around. And we've been working very hard on developing those kinds of policies. We've also been working very hard on mobilizing people and bringing together people who can implement those policies. So we really have a vision for this country, and we really have the team to bring that, to realize that vision.
So what would be the immediate reforms, before I wrap it up, one last question, what would be the immediate reforms if NPP would be able to make a government?
So one of the first, I think there are several things that have to happen simultaneously, right? So it's not like one follows the other. But one of the main things we want to work on is a new political culture, right? Which means, the leaders have to set the example for the change that they want to bring about. So reducing the privileges, removing the privileges that elected representatives currently hold will be one. Fixing this economic crisis will require hard work and sacrifice all around, right? And we think that the leaders of this country should set that example, right? Of sacrifice and hard work. So it will be a very pruned down, very privilege-free set of leaders that we will put in place. We will have limits on cabinet ministries. The spending will be strictly curtailed. All of that, right? Then there needs to be action taken on those who have robbed this country public money for years, right? There are many cases that have that can be filed already, and that has to go into account, go into action. Thirdly, the economy has to the steps have to be taken to revive the economy, right? Most importantly, in the short term, opening up the avenues for bringing in flows of money into the country, but also reviving the economy locally, right? Because at the moment the economy is shutting down. We have to look at ways in which the economy can be revived. And fourthly, social protection, because the economic crisis is causing real suffering on a large number of citizens in this country when it comes to access to food, medicine, all of those things, right? So there needs to be proper social protection measures taken so that people are not falling through the cracks of this economic crisis and suffering as a result, right? So on all of those four lines, we will have to work simultaneously.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harini, for joining with me today, so that to tell my audience on what are your future plans, anyways. And I wish you and NPP the best in coming elections, and may hopefully Sri Lanka will come to a new version of Sri Lanka under NPP if NPP gets elected. And wish you good luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for inviting me for this and organizing this. I look forward to having more conversations with you, not necessarily on Instagram, and hopefully when the weather's better and I can hear you more clearly and I don't have to keep
Definitely.
sort of taking cover from the lightning and thunder.
Thank you for taking that risk as well, because you are coming under lightning and it's the safety issues as well.
Yes.
So thank
Okay.
you guys.
All
Thank
right.
you everyone who joined
Thanks.
today, and we'll
Okay.
meet
All
next
right.
week. Bye bye. Good night.
Okay. Bye. Good night.